It's said that houses hold memories. This one held grudges. This is one of the scariest stories I've ever read. So let me give you a bit of backstory. I grew up in a big home with my 3 siblings. Well, it was big to us kids. To anyone else it was average sized. It had been built in the early 90s, so it was new to us, and the rooms were pretty much all closed off. There were basements, an attic, a library, a greenhouse, a storage room, and more. Back then, we didn't have phones, computers, or TVs in our rooms, so we spent most of our time roaming around these halls. Since my parents worked at home, we practically lived in this house without supervision. One summer afternoon, we kids decided to explore the forbidden territory of our house, the areas we were never allowed to enter, probably due to safety concerns. We left the front door open and headed to the first restricted zone, the kitchen pantry. It was full of boxes filled with junk our parents never used. We kids played countless games in there, pretending it was a pirate ship or a castle keep. Next, we headed to the library, where we read everything our parents kept secret from us. These books ranged from stuff like ancient Rome to animal encyclopedias, but our favorite thing in there was definitely the globe. We tried to find our town on it many times, but we always failed. We spun it endlessly, laughing. The third place was the laundry room. It was an interesting place since we never heard the washing machine or dryer run, and the only time we ever saw Mom do laundry was in the spring when she cleaned all the winter clothes. The last place was the greenhouse. Our house didn't have a yard, so our parents built a greenhouse to grow flowers and vegetables. We enjoyed picking fresh food to eat though. This was the perfect place to play pirates, as we imagined the greenhouse was a tropical island. One day, we decided to take our adventure to the next level and go downstairs. According to the tales we told ourselves, our basement consisted of traps, spiders, and alligators. In reality, it was messy, but not nearly as exciting. We didn't see anything terrifying, just empty boxes and dusty furniture. After we explored the basement, we went back upstairs to find the front door wide open. We immediately panicked. We couldn't wait to tell our parents about our amazing discovery, but now they might be mad at us for leaving the door unlocked. We raced inside and shouted, "We're home." Our parents emerged from their offices looking very surprised. Apparently they didn't hear the door open. Dad went outside to check, but no cars drove by during that time. To this day, I'm still wondering why he checked outside. Did he know something was wrong? Anyway, after the coast was clear, we snuck back downstairs and hid in the pantry. We didn't want to get in trouble, so we waited for a few minutes before peeking through a crack in the door. The hallway was dark, except for the light shining from beneath Mom and Dad's office door. We could hear them talking in hushed tones. "Did you hear anything?" Mom whispered. "Hear what? The police were never here." "That's impossible." Dad replied. "Well, someone was here," Mom argued. "I know I locked the door before we left." They continued arguing in hushed tones, and even though we couldn't hear their exact words, we knew they were talking about the intruder. The next morning, Dad installed a deadbolt on the front door and told us not to go anywhere near it, but we didn't listen. We kids wanted answers. One of us stayed outside while the other 2 went inside. We searched the whole house but didn't find any signs of forced entry or an intruder. Even the greenhouse door, which we always left open, was locked from the inside. We still couldn't explain how our parents' door was open in the middle of the night and the deadbolt was still intact. But a few days later we found some clues in the pantry. We pushed aside the boxes and found a ring, a necklace, a watch, and a key hidden underneath. It must have fallen off the intruder. Of course, we showed it to our parents right away, but they didn't seem interested. "Oh, honey, I don't want to talk about this right now," Mom said, grabbing the items from our hands. "It's just a bunch of junk. Give it to me," she said, handing us off to Dad. "Can we call the cops?" I asked. "There's no need. I'll handle this myself," Dad said with a dark look on his face. After that, he locked the pantry door and never allowed us to open it again. It was weird, but whatever happened in that pantry never happened again. But as the years passed, the memory of that day faded. Recently, however, I went to visit my family and the question popped into my head again. What happened to the intruder? Was it really an intruder? My father is a private man and doesn't talk about much of his past. The only information I've learned about his childhood was when he accidentally told me that he was adopted. So I decided to ask him about the incident. "Dad, can I ask you something?" I said cautiously. "Of course, sweetie," he replied. "What is it?" "Do you remember the intruder that entered our house when I was young?" he asked. "Yeah," he said, sighing. "Why do you want to know?" "I've just been wondering what happened to him or her," I said. "She's gone now," Dad said. "Gone?" I asked. "Yeah," he replied. "She died a few years ago. She left this world peacefully, but she suffered for a long time," he added. "But who was she?" I asked. "Who are you talking about?" Mom replied, appearing from the kitchen. "Ah, your mother," Dad said. "She wanted to speak to you about her past, but I stopped her. You were barely 5 years old, and it would have scared you," he said, looking at me. "But why did she break into our house?" I pressed. "Why indeed," Mom said with a bitter tone. "Your father and I never invited her in, yet she claimed that this house was hers. She demanded that we leave so she could live alone again, but we refused. We were happy in our home, and we weren't going anywhere. She attempted to take her life several times. Your father had to carry her out of the pantry many times. I was shocked. This was crazy. Why would a woman claim a house that clearly belonged to my parents? But what did she mean when she said that this house was hers? I asked. She believed that she built this house herself and raised a child here. But none of that is true, Dad said, shaking his head. Your mother admitted that she destroyed the previous owner's family, but she never explained how. She was trapped in this house for years and hated the fact that we lived in the home she once occupied. She died hating us, Mom added. So what actually happened to her? Who was she? I may never know, but this story will stick with me forever. And I'll never forget the face of hatred. That story was terrifying. But now it's time for me to tell you another scary story. And I hope you're ready, because this one will haunt your nightmares. Is it possible for a video to hunt you down? You probably think this is a nightmare that belongs in a movie. But what if it could happen to you? Well, here's how to keep yourself safe if you do. The most important thing to do if you have a haunted video is to stop contact with it. It's easier said than done, but try not to watch it again. If the video is cursed or haunted, each time you watch it, you open yourself up to its malevolent forces. There's also a chance that the video itself is sentient, and seeing it feeds its intelligence. So do your best to forget about it, and make sure you delete all copies. If you can't bring yourself to destroy the video, you can try to remove the curse by cleansing it. How do you do this? Here are a few ideas. Some may work, others may not. You never really know when it comes to curses. Try covering the lens with holy water and salt, or if you prefer, you can use holy water and salt in front of the camera. These items ward off evil spirits, so they might remove any demons from the video. Another option is to play a prayer over top of the footage. This one is a bit tricky because you would need to watch the video while doing this, but if you absolutely must cleanse your copy, it could be worth it. Just remember, don't let the video go unwatched for too long. Otherwise, you run the risk of letting the curse grow. And lastly, if none of those options work, you can try exorcising the video. This is a lot harder than cleansing it, and should only be done as a last resort. You're going to need some serious courage for this one, or perhaps some help from a professional priest. If these options don't work, then the curse is free to wreak havoc on your life. Now, you may be wondering, how could a simple video do that? Let's talk about the science. First, let's address the idea that videos can be haunted. While scientifically impossible, there are other explanations. Videos can be cursed, they can attract bad vibes, they can simply make you paranoid. Of course, these are less interesting than an actual haunting, but they could explain our story. So how could a cursed video affect you? Well, movies have long been known to give people nightmares. A film's cinematography, sound design, and storyline combine to create a sense of dread and suspense. It's fun for audiences, but some viewers take their fears home with them. It's called the scary movie effect, and it can be quite intense. For example, in 2012, a woman in Australia watched the horror film Lights Out. The movie was about a girl whose family is haunted by a creature named Diana who appears whenever the lights go out. After watching the movie, the woman became convinced her house was haunted. She began hearing disembodied voices, saw figures in her peripheral vision, and felt things moving across her body. She soon learned she was experiencing anxiety and paranoia brought on by the movie. Essentially, it tricked her brain into thinking she was being stalked by a supernatural entity. So if the video gave you a fright, it could cause a similar reaction. But our video doesn't end there. The protagonist experienced more than just fear. She fell victim to sleep paralysis. This happens when you're unable to move or speak while falling asleep or waking up. Sleep paralysis has been linked to many paranormal phenomena, and it's easy to see why. When you're stuck between wakefulness and sleep, it feels like you're being attacked by something or someone. There are even hallucinations. Victims sometimes report feeling an oppressive presence in their room. Others say they feel themselves being touched. Many have even seen terrifying figures during an episode. So when the protagonist saw that dark figure standing behind her, it could have been sleep paralysis. However, there's another explanation, one not often mentioned. Sleep paralysis happens when the two sides of your brain aren't communicating correctly. Your body is essentially paralyzed so you don't hurt yourself while you dream. But if you wake up in the middle of REM sleep, your brain continues dreaming while your body remains immobile. The result is disturbing. But what if there's something more? Studies have shown that while your brain paralyzes your body, it keeps your eyes open. They call it tonic immobility. Scientists think it helps you escape predators. In nature, a paralyzed prey animal is less likely to get eaten if its eyes are open and staring. Humans retain this instinct. Our brains keep us motionless and openly to avoid danger. But what if that danger is right in front of you? Evolution hasn't caught up yet. We don't know how humans react to a predator that can kill you with a single click. If the video is haunted, it could have exploited this weakness. The protagonist found out the hard way. That brings us to the scariest part of the story. The whispers. Most people believe ghosts communicate to warn us, express sorrow, or show us their presence. They rarely speak in full sentences though. Whispers, growls, and hisses are much more common. So is knocking. Researchers don't know why ghosts do this, but they often warn of impending death. You might want to listen if you hear unexplained knocking, especially if it matches the knock of death. That's a phrase from the Victorian era. It means a pattern of knocks that signals someone's about to die. It goes like this. Someone knocks twice, then waits, then knocks twice more. The number of knocks indicates the amount of time left to live. 2 knocks means you have 2 years. 3 means 3 weeks, 3 months or 3 days. But there are variations of the rhyme, so it can be hard to tell. But our story doesn't end there. The protagonist watched as the video seemingly wrote the date of her own demise. Is this possible? Yes, but we don't know why. Maybe the ghost needed her to know its identity. Or maybe it simply wanted to make its presence known. Either way, the protagonist got the message. While some stories have happy endings, ours does not. The protagonist never contacted the ghost again, but that doesn't mean the video let her go. It hunted her down every time she slept. She lived in constant fear. Eventually, she had to take extreme measures to protect herself. She knew the video was dangerous, but she also knew she couldn't destroy it. If she did, she might unleash the ghost into the world. She could also bring it upon herself if she watched it again. So she sealed it away, keeping it locked and hidden from the world. At least now she knows what to blame when she finds the lens turned toward her bed. Now, whether you believe the story or not, it teaches us an important lesson about media consumption. Don't bring cursed objects into your home. That may be obvious to some, but others may not realize the power a video holds. Before sharing, ask yourself, is it really worth it? What if the next video you watch puts you in the protagonist's position? Do you really want to start a ghost hunt? Probably not. So be careful what you share and delete anything you don't recognize. You don't know what kind of trouble you could bring upon yourself. And please tell us how it happened, whether you believe it or not. Hey there. So today I'm going to be reading a Reddit story from the No Sleep subreddit. This is a place where people post scary stories that are so convincing they actually blur the line between fiction and reality. So let's jump into this story. It was the summer of 2021 when I took a solo trip into the Colorado Rockies. I had just finished college and wanted a break from everything. People, technology, noise. I grew up hiking with my dad, and he always said if you go far enough, the forest starts watching you back. I didn't really understand what he meant. Until the third night, I set up camp near a ridge overlooking a dense pine valley. No cell service, no other campers for miles. Just me, the stars, and the kind of silence that hums in your ears. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the trees, I heard a whistle. Just 2 notes, soft, almost curious. I froze. Birds had stopped singing. Wind had died down. That whistle didn't belong to anything natural. At first I thought maybe it was an echo, a sound bouncing weird off the cliffs, but then it came again, closer, same 2 notes. I stayed in my tent that night with my knife gripped in my hand. Around 2 a.m., I woke to a soft rustling near the fire pit, then sniffing like something huge was walking in slow circles around my tent, breathing hard, and then, someone, something, called out from the darkness. In my voice I didn't move, didn't breathe. The voice came again. Come out. Looked still my voice, but wrong. Like someone trying to copy the sound without knowing what the words meant. And then, silence. Eventually I passed out from sheer fear. The next morning I found massive prints in the soft dirt around my tent. Not bear, not elk. These were elongated, like deer hooves, but twisted almost backwards. And next to them, bare human footprints. No shoes, just skin. I hiked out immediately, cutting the trip short. 2 weeks later I was back home in Denver. I hadn't told anyone. I wanted to forget, but the night terrors started. Every night I'd wake up at 3:03 a.m. to scratching on my window. I lived on the 3rd floor. One night, half asleep, I glanced up and saw something tall, pale, watching me through the glass. Its eyes were wrong, glowing faintly like amber coals. It didn't move, didn't blink. Okay, so at this point, I am absolutely terrified. Who or whatever is out there knows where the narrator lives now and is paying him nightly visits. It's as very possible that this story will continue and we'll find out exactly what the hell this thing is. But let me know what you think is out there. Is it some sort of monster? Is it demonic? Maybe. Let me know in the comments below. I've been getting a lot of questions about how these videos work, so I'm gonna explain real quick. These videos are based on stories from various subreddits, and then I add my own creative spin to them. Basically, I'm telling you my own interpretation of the story. I am not saying that these stories are true because I firmly believe that the internet is full of fakes. But sometimes these posts are so well written and so detailed that it's hard to tell whether they read true or not. I just read the story and bring it to life with some music and sound effects. That being said, there are some rare occasions where I come across a video that I can say with absolute certainty is fake. If that happens, I'll link the original post in the description and you can decide for yourself. Anyways, let's get back to the story. A friend of mine, Casey, asked me to meet his uncle who was Navajo, a quiet man named Roland who lived just outside Santa Fe. When I told him about the voice in the woods, the footprints, the mimicry, He looked me dead in the eye and said one word, Wendigo. He explained what they were. Spirits twisted by cannibalism, drawn to those who walk too far alone, and worse, they mimic voices, faces, even yourself. If you hear it once, you're marked. If you respond, you've invited it. I asked what I could do. He gave me a pouch of crushed herbs and black stones, told me to burn them if I ever heard the voice again. It didn't take long. 3 nights later I was alone in my apartment. Power had gone out during a storm. I lit candles trying to stay calm. Then I heard it from the hallway. Come out, my voice again. It was inside the apartment. With shaking hands, I lit the pouch in a metal bowl, just like Roland said. As the smoke rose, the temperature dropped sharply. My breath clouded in front of me, and then it screamed, not in pain, in rage, a sound like a dying animal and static mixed together. The next moment, the bowl shattered. Every candle blew out at once, and in that brief moment before total darkness, I saw a shape crawling across my ceiling. Long limbs, flesh peeling, black hollow eyes, and then it was gone. Since then, I've moved 3 times, burned every bit of old camping gear. I don't go near forests anymore. I keep iron and sage near every door. But sometimes, when the wind is just right, I swear I still hear that whistle, 2 soft notes, calling me back. Would you follow the sound if it used your voice? This is where the story ends. There are no updates, so I want to hear your theories. What do you think is out there? Do you think our protagonist will answer the call? Let me know in the comments below. Now, I've been getting a lot of questions about how I edit these videos, so I wanted to let you guys know that most of the sound effects and music I use come from Artlist, which is a great royalty-free music and sound effects platform. If you click the link in the description, you'll get 2 months free with any annual subscription, so if you're interested, definitely check that out. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, don't forget, I love you all. So if you want to hear more stories like this, then stay tuned for new episodes. If this story gave you chills, hit like, share it with a brave friend, and subscribe because the darkness has more tales to tell.